I'm John Walker. Welcome back to Bearcat Update. Hello and welcome everybody back for another semester of Bearcat Update. I'm your host John Walker, and as most of you already know, the COVID-19 pandemic halted sports as we knew it way back in the spring. And now, despite being back, things are still not the same. It was announced on August 14th by the MIAA CEO Council that fall sports were delayed until January 1st of the new year. And now we are thankful enough to be joined virtually by Northwest Director of Athletics, Andy Peterson. Andy, it's great to have you on the show. And just first and foremost, you were a part of that decision somewhat. And so what has that been like to cancel not only sports at Northwest, but among the MIAA?
We're not alone, and Northwest Missouri State's not alone. There's a lot of institutions that are in the same boat as us that probably don't have the financial capabilities of buying that number of tests. But then on top of that, we're in a small rural community where even if we had the tests, logistically we couldn't distribute them, have kids take them and then get the results back in less than 72 hours. Just not something that's real feasible. So that's pretty much what it boiled down to, was just there's no way we could test, especially in our high contact sports, which is 3 out of your 4 fall sports, football, volleyball, and soccer. You've got to test all those kids and coaches staff every week. And so to turn around, 200 plus tests in 72 hours, just not realistic.
And so obviously, Andy, for yourself, like fall sports are now allowed to practice. And so with that, kind of what precautions are being taken? I know the NCAA is kind of giving you guys a hand that you're just dealing with now. So what precautions are being taken?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to abide by as many of the regulations we can. Our health staff, working with our campus medical team and also our team doctor through Mosaic, they've all said that working out with masks on is not safe. So don't do that. But every other chance you get to have a mask on. So we've purchased, most of our teams have purchased gaiters for all of our athletes. So when they're out on the pitch or on the field, they've got those gaiters around their neck. So when they're playing, they're down, they're not that big a deal. But then when they have a huddle or they have some type of a group discussion, they can just pop the gaiters up and go through their meetings. So quite a few other than that too, just with, daily check-ins with our health and safety, our athletic training staff, and making sure, kids aren't, they're not coming to practices or workouts if they're sick, whatever. Hey, Asher, say hi to Bearcat Nation, dude. Not going to. So, we're trying to do our best to make sure that we're doing everything off the athletic fields so that we can get on the athletic fields and play and participate. So.
Alrighty, Andy, thanks again for joining us, guys. That is the Northwest Director of Athletics, Andy Peterson. We hope to hear some good news from him soon about winter sports. And speaking of winter sports, the MIAA CEO Council will make a decision about basketball and indoor track and field by October 1st. We're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We talk about a few Northwest football players who had an extra eye on them when we come back. You're watching Bearcat Update on KNWT, Channel 8. Welcome back to Bearcat Update. Since last season, a few Northwest football players found themselves being recognized as future NFL prospects. Our reporter Dylan Johnson caught up with cornerback Jaravian Anderson and wideout Caden Davis to see how not having any sports now might impact what could be in the future. Dylan.
The last game played in Bearcat Stadium was on November 30th, 2019. The Bearcats defeated Lindenwood in a 63-7 playoff victory. But who would have thought this would be the last game for a while?
Good afternoon and welcome to Bearcat Stadium on the Northwest Missouri State campus in Maryville, Missouri. It's round 2 of the NCAA Division II playoffs. Now Thomas in motion right to left. They want to run with it to the right side. Brayton right with the run. Cuts back in, gets a nice block, and gets into the end zone untouched. And Northwest Missouri State adds to their lead.
Well, the Bearcats with 63 points. This a new playoff high.
About 1 month ago, fall sports was postponed until 2021, which left an uneasy taste in the mouths of senior athletes.
I felt like this season was like our season to break out. We got new offense, defense still the same, so I just felt like we was going to do what we always wanted to do.
Even through times of uncertainty, these Bearcats continue to find a light in the darkness.
I was a little upset, but looking at it now,
I can understand what's going on, and it gives me a whole nother year to prepare. So
I just felt like it's just another opportunity for me to get better and just like work on my craft. So
recently, in the past few months, Draft Diamonds, a website designed to help small school athletes gain exposure, brought Northwest Missouri State to their platform. Sam Roberts, Amani Donadell, Tanner Owens, Caden Davis, and Jaravian Anderson represented Bearcat Nation as part of the Draft Diamonds 2021 NFL Draft Prospect Collection.
well, it felt good, like a dream come true. Like since I was young, I always wanted to get a chance at NFL. So I was just amazed at the time.
It's cool to have that recognition. I'm still humble, got a lot to prove this next season. Anderson and Davis' love for the sport is deeper than stats and wins.
I like the competition, and I like the strategy and like just the craft of it. Like you got to be detailed, like every little detail counts, and you can like use that in your life. Like you can't just overlook the small things.
The brotherhood I developed, going to work day in, day out with everybody, going hard as we can. The absence of football at the moment has not deterred these Bearcats from reaching the ultimate goal. Hoping to just fulfill my potential. I feel like I ain't even scratched the surface yet.
Football, that's all I always wanted to do, so I'm just gonna pursue that.
Next level somewhere, whether that's CFL, XFL, NFL. With today's lack of assurance, these guys understand an important life lesson. Take nothing for granted. Every time I go out there, I don't know if it's gonna be my last play or whatnot, so. We shall all aspire to take advantage of today's opportunities, as tomorrow is not guaranteed. Reporting for Bearcat Update, I'm Dylan Johnson.
Thanks, Dylan. The team is still allowed to practice and is continuing to do just that until there's more clarity on what competition might look like in the spring. We're going to take another quick break. Don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we'll see some of the hobbies that Northwest athletes picked up during their time away from sports right here on Bearcat Update. Welcome back to Bearcat Update. With the cancellation of spring sports halfway through March and the uncertainty of sports for athletes that were still set to compete in this fall until there were cancellations, there was a prolonged spring break, summer, off-season, or whatever else you'd like to call it. And during that same time, much like the rest of us, athletes were left trying to fill the time with activities that they typically wouldn't have time for. Our reporter JD Wessel spoke with some of them to see what new hobbies they picked up over quarantine. JD.
The last time college football has been canceled was over 100 years ago during the Spanish flu pandemic. And today, we also face a new pandemic, COVID-19. Now, the athletes are left without the sport they love. I talked to 3 Northwest athletes about the new hobbies that they learned during quarantine. For junior linebacker Adrian Eskew, he invested his time into playing golf, something he hadn't done since he's came to Northwest.
So I'd played golf a few times, maybe a handful of times before I had gotten to Northwest. I'd go to Top Golf around the area just for fun, but I had really never even gotten into the sport until just this season. So ever since COVID happened, that's when I really started golfing. So
Adrian also talked about what this has done for him and his teammates with not having football.
You know, not having football and not being around the guys as much, you know, it can hurt a team, but just finding little things like golf and, you know, softball and stuff like that, it's been nice because we can still keep that camaraderie between the team and just be able to continue to hang out with one another and do the little things that are important for a football team.
As for the junior defensive tackle Zach Howard, he says his family and having more free time was part of the decision to try and learn to play guitar.
Early in quarantine, I was like, I got a lot of time on my hands. I could try to learn a couple chords or something, and that's kind of what I did. Just my uncle has a couple guitars, so he just gave me one of his, and he was just like, start to learn. So I've been teaching myself just kind of like chords and basics and stuff. It's nothing crazy, but it's been fun. So for about 2 months, I played probably over an hour to 2 hours a day. A lot, just whatever, and then kind of probably trickled down to probably an hour every other day. Since July probably, and then here and there I'll play an hour a day now.
The senior captain of the Steppers, Debrielle Petit Merrill, said her mom has been someone who's been a role model in her learning of cooking.
But being home was a really nice opportunity. My mom is practically a chef. I'm the youngest of 7, so she's used to cooking great meals for large crowds. So she taught me a lot, and it was just really nice to be home and have the time to put into like cooking a whole meal.
T. Merrill says cooking is a lot like dance in a couple different ways.
Dance, I feel like is really unique because it kind of blends that line between like sport and art. And dance is something that you have to put your whole heart into to do well. And I was really shocked that cooking is the exact same. If you just toss some things in a pot and just like hope for the best, it's not going to happen. But if you're attentive and you're doing it with someone you really love, like your family, then it's so much more fun and enjoyable, and everything just turns out a little better.
These 3 Bearcats have all invested their time into a new hobby since this national pandemic. And while they all hope the future has football in its plans, for now they will all continue to improve their newly learned crafts. This has been JD Wessel reporting on the Bearcat Update. Back to you, John.
Thanks, JD. That's going to wrap things up for this week's episode of Bearcat Update. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at BearcatUpdate_8, or you can catch all of our previous episodes from last semester and the semesters before on YouTube at KNWT 8. Make sure to comment on it and let us know what you would like to see from us this semester. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.
Action!
I'm John Walker. Welcome back to Bearcat Update. What's up, guys? Alongside from wearing your mask, make sure to check out all of our previous episodes of Bearcat Update down here and the rest of our KNWT shows down here. See you next week.